SunnySide is a Japanese-inspired farm/life sim that is breaking the mold completely. If I had $1 for every comment I've gotten on my Coral Island videos that says something along the lines of, "Oh my gosh, total ripoff of Stardew Valley, complete clone, how could they?" I'd be freaking rich. Sure, SunnySide is still a farm and social sim at its core, but it's doing so many things differently that it's not even a close comparison anymore. Don't believe me? Let me just say this. There's no watering can in the game. A game where watering your crops on a daily basis is a huge part of it, not a watering can in sight. Want to know more? I got you covered. This video is definitely on the longer side, so if you want to jump around to the sections that interest you most, feel free to do so using the timestamps in the description or the chapters on the play bar. But if you want to listen to me hype up this game for you, then get comfortable. If you've never heard of SunnySide, I covered it a few months ago and it was doing some pretty cool things at the time. But development has seriously picked up since then, mechanics have been flushed out, the game has gotten a massive graphical overhaul, publishers have taken an interest, and it's starting to turn into something that, while still inspired by pioneers of the genre like Stardew Valley and Harvest Moon, it stands on its own completely. To hopefully answer the "is this coming to the Switch" and "when can I play it" questions right out the gate, here is the proposed development timeline on screen for you now. As we go through some of the recent changes and I give you a better idea of what SunnySide is, one phrase keeps coming to mind: attention to detail. In quite literally every aspect of the game, perhaps except maybe the animations, since those are still a huge nitpick of mine and are not even close to being finished, so don't pay too much attention to those. If you're a sucker for the little details like I am, though, you're in for a treat, because SunnySide is overflowing with details. Everything you're seeing and are about to see is still very rough around the edges, though, and I don't have the cleanest footage to work with, so please judge it with a grain of salt. This is more to get an idea of where the game is headed and what potential it has, rather than what it is right here, right now. Let's start at the beginning. Character customization. I'm not going to linger here too long since this is only a prototype, but not only are they doing away with selecting male or female gender options, they're also doing away with having to select a male or female body type altogether. Instead, they'll have both a male and female body type on either end of a slider, so that you can adjust your body type on a spectrum from male to female and anywhere in between. You'll also be able to adjust your height and weight and pick your pronouns. Hairstyles with physics, tops, outerwear, bottoms, and shoes can all be customized, including their color. Nothing too revolutionary here, but that's about to change. Once you load into your farm, you'll see your tent. That's right, not house, but tent. There will be a whole backstory between why you were given this multi-tiered farmland and why a tent, not a house, but I'll leave that for you to discover. It's not the way overdone Grandpa left you his farm thing, though, I can tell you that much. In order to build the new house, you'll first need to acquire a miniature drone from the tech shop, which will then allow you to control it using an app on your phone called Build Mode. I'll give you one guess what that does. This drone can be flown around the entire map and is used to place down blueprints for buildings, but can also be used to drop virtual pins on the map for you to navigate to later on, and take aerial photos, which can then be printed off and hung in picture frames inside your house or set as your phone's background. Remember that whole attention to detail thing from earlier? Yeah, this is only the beginning. Once a blueprint is placed, you can exit build mode, and like in many crafting/survival games, you walk up to it and it will tell you what is needed to build that item. You'll also be able to pin crafting requirements so you can keep track of what you need as you're shopping for and or gathering resources. As you fill in items, the blueprint will slowly start to fill in as well. Craft some plywood on your workbench using the Crafter's Companion app on your laptop. Add it to your house, and voila! One of your interior walls, made of plywood, will go up. This will make building things in this game super satisfying, at least for me. This same blueprint system will be used for every item you can place on your farm. Not just buildings like your house, barn, coop, but even your bed, furniture, decoration, etc. and all of it can either be snapped to not 1, but 3 different sized grids, or freely rotated and placed wherever you want. So yes, you can indeed place 12 different coops in a circle surrounding your house that you yourself placed smack dab in the middle of your farm so that you can live out your wildest chicken farmer dreams. No? No one? Just me? Moving on. Speaking of chickens, the way in which you feed them is unique to farming sims, at least as far as I can tell, and is much more closely tied to how things are done in the real world. Instead of adding feed to every single chicken's feed trough, you only have to restock a singular chicken feeder, saving you tons of time and making it much, much easier to care for a large number of animals. Also, please just look at this coop. It's beautiful. It actually makes sense being made out of a wire mesh instead of being a full-blown building. I've never understood that in games. A similar thing is true for farming, in that it'll likely be much easier to care for large fields. You know how I mentioned that SunnySide won't have a watering can? Ask anyone you know who seriously gardens or farms, and by that I mean much more than just a few potted plants. For me, that's my sister and my late grandfather. Both of them have/had huge gardens, and I can't say I've ever seen either of them water them by hand with a watering can in my entire life, and I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' growing up. Instead, they just take a hose and spray down the entire thing. It's much more efficient, much less time-consuming, and in SunnySide's case, a much welcomed improvement over the traditional watering can used in pretty much every other farm sim. The kind SunnySide devs aren't going to hose us, though, pun 100% intended, and make us water our crops with the hose forever. There will be upgrades to the watering mechanic that will automate the process for us a little bit, but we don't have specifics on those just yet. It's not going to be just as simple as grabbing your hose and going to town, though, or I guess more accurately, going to field. You'll first need to pump some water to fill your water tank, which initially will be done by hand. Once filled, you can then use your hose to spray down your crops and water them, all while getting a visual indication of how much water you have left. There will be ways to automate some of this as you progress in the game by building solar panels or wind turbines, for example, which will then power electric pumps that will fill your water tanks whenever you have them turned on. And with the solar panels, the amount of power generated by them is dependent on the amount of sun that they get. So on a cloudy day, you might not be able to pump as much water as opposed to a clear, sunny day. And I imagine the same will be true of wind turbines depending on wind speeds, because that too is something that can change dynamically throughout the day. Using the hose is not only efficient, but incredibly satisfying. Spraying the ground and watching it slowly create puddles and then just as slowly evaporate over time is something I could watch for far too long. And arguably, the best part of the hose is actually letting go of it. When you do, it will automatically retract back into the hose holder thing, stowing it away neatly for the next time you're ready to use it. As fun as just spraying the ground is, though, the idea is to spray your crops to water them, but before you'll have crops to water, you'll first need seeds. Seeds that you can acquire by ordering them online through an app on your phone. Welcome to the 21st century of farm sims. It's beautiful. Pull out your phone, open up your SunnySide app, and place an order. There will be deals of the day, a shopping cart where you can check out from, and even delivery options of next day or economy delivery, the cheaper of the two options, where weather conditions might even delay your order. I don't know why this level of realism is so exciting to me, but it is. I never thought I'd be so excited by the delay of a shipment, but here we are, folks. Rainy, the lead developer, said his reasoning for having you purchase seeds this way is that it's never made sense to him, where in most farm sims, you're the only farmer in the entire town, yet there's a shop that specifically sells seeds and other farming equipment, as if that store was built and staffed only to serve you and you alone. In SunnySide, you'll also be the only farmer, so this was his resolution to that issue, and I think it's just perfect. It just makes sense, especially with all the technology that's making it into the game, from smartphones to drones, all the way to online shopping. On the subject of technology though, let's talk about the phone real quick. This is one aspect of SunnySide that makes it unlike any other farm sim I've seen. You'll hear that a lot this video. It's being implemented in a way that makes most all of the UI of the game actually make sense and feel like it's part of the game, rather than something that was just slapped on the screen. Open your inventory, for example, and your phone will quickly flip into landscape mode, fill up the screen, and open the inventory UI. It's just clean. I don't know how else to put it. You can also buy and download different apps to do different things like take photos, text and receive texts from NPCs, access and control your drone via build mode, check on your animals, their age, and your relationship with them, and check their weather forecast, which can change throughout the day, by the way, among many others. You can even use your phone to save the game whenever you want, not just in between days. You'll also be able to change the background of the phone as well and put different phone cases on it. And speaking of things that are neat but have absolutely no impact on gameplay, at least not as of now, it's also planned to have the cell signal of the phone decrease when in places like caves and the mines. If that's a bit too realistic for you, and you're in the camp of people who like to play games to escape reality, not to be reminded of it even further, they've said that they're consciously trying to strike a balance between realism and immersion, and fun and engaging gameplay elements. You know that shipping bin? The one in pretty much every farm sim where you throw all your stuff from the day and some strange man, maybe even the mayor, as if he doesn't have anything better to do with his time, comes to pick it up and sell it for you? Yeah, not in SunnySide. You could say bye-bye to the bin, or been there, done that, because SunnySide is taking a different approach. Instead, you will be responsible for selling your goods and produce yourself, initially to the stores in town. Sounds like work, I know. That's why, just like everything else in the game, they're building in a progression system for this as well. On day one, you'll be schlepping whatever goods you can fit into your measly little backpack to the store on foot. By the end game, you'll be loading your massive haul of fruits and veggies from your huge, thick field of crops onto your truck, driving it into town, and selling it at your very own store. This truck that I mentioned is technically a K-car, the type of vehicle that traditionally makes up a good portion of the Japanese automobile market. But instead of just going straight from walking around town to driving a K-car, there will be two other modes of transit in between: bicycles and a motorized scooter. And I don't know why I'm so excited by this idea, but I am, and I hope I'm not alone. When you sell your goods at these stores, however, you'll be earning cupels, the game's currency, which, fun fact, is not only fun to say, but it's actually the name of the top part of an acorn. I wonder where they got that idea from. Another thing about the stores, which I think is a really nice touch, is that just like in real-world Japan, and again, very unlike most other farm sims, most NPCs don't live where they work, but in their own homes in separate buildings for the most part. Yet another minor detail that makes a huge difference, at least for me. We're going to talk about cooking, weather, and the romance/gender system in just a sec, but first, if you've made it this far and are still enjoying what you've been hearing and seeing, please take a second and leave a like on the video. Not for me, but for SunnySide. I really think this game has the potential to be something big, but marketing can make or break even the biggest of games, so the more we can get the word out, the better. Please and thank you. Also, if you're interested and or would like to support the game, I've left a link to where you can pre-order the game at a discounted price in the description below. All right, cooking. I'm not going to go super in-depth on this one, but let's take a look at the charcoal grill, one of the many items you can cook on, for example. You can put multiple items at once on it, and after providing it with charcoal, it'll cook your food after a set amount of time. Wait too long, however, and it will burn. Now, the cool thing about this is that, let's say you put a potato on the grill. You'll end up with two different cooked items if you cook it with the lid off versus with the lid on. Now, apply this logic to other cooking utensils, think stove, oven, frying pan, cutting board, food processor, etc. And you've got yourself a very interesting cooking system. And, at least in the case of the charcoal grill, one that can be upgraded to a proper grill, allowing for more items to be cooked at once, and for an auto-off feature, preventing any burnt food from ever raining on your parade again. Odd choice of words, I know, but I gotta do it for the segue because it's time to talk about SunnySide's absolutely gorgeous, detail-oriented, immersive as heck weather. It's beautiful. For example, it doesn't just rain, but when it does, it creates puddles on the ground. And I don't mean that the second it starts raining, suddenly raindrops immediately start falling and puddles instantly appear on the ground and stay there until it stops raining. No. The rain in this game is actually volumetric, meaning it takes up space. So, as the water hits the ground, it first slowly makes the ground wet. Then, as the rain continues or picks up intensity, it completely saturates the ground. Then, the water starts slowly pooling in low spots to the point where if you really have nothing better to do, like watching grass grow or paint dry, you could technically watch a puddle fill up with water over time. It also falls off the roof lines of buildings and trickles down the walls, and even evaporates just as epically once the rain has subsided. The wind can dynamically adjust throughout the day as well. Snowfall will actually pile up over multiple days if it keeps snowing, and when you run through it, it doesn't just leave footprints, but displaces the snow and leaves a trail behind you. And if you place a fire in the middle of the snow, it'll melt the surrounding snow. Light that same campfire when there's no snow, and it'll actually burn away nearby grass. Maybe not the most realistic feature ever, but still super cool looking nonetheless. And don't get me started on the skybox. If you're a fan of Aurora Borealis, aka the Northern Lights, aka those really neat bands of color streaking through the sky, yeah, SunnySide's got those too. All in all, the weather is amazing. Okay, let's take it down a notch. Let's talk about the NPCs and more specifically, romance. First off, let me make this very clear. You will not be able to date anyone you want. Just like not everyone in the world is bisexual, in SunnySide, they won't all be either. Some will prefer to date men, some will prefer to date women, some will prefer to date both men and women, some will prefer to date neither, and some will have no preference at all, while others will fall somewhere in between. Clear as mud, right? To provide some more context, let me ask you a question. Are romantic relationships simple? To me, that answer is a big fat no. They can be incredibly complicated. Emotions aren't logical, they don't follow strict boundaries, and the heart wants what the heart wants. This is why SunnySide is implementing a romance system that they claim will be revolutionary. One that hasn't been done before, and one that they're keeping pretty close to the chest. I even reached out personally in a DM for more information and got denied. What I do know is that every romanceable NPC will have what they're calling a harmony quest. And upon completion, you'll have the choice whether you want to continue your relationship with that individual platonically and remain friends, or pursue a romantic relationship with them. If you choose the latter, it will lock you out of pursuing a romantic relationship with someone else until you break up or divorce your significant other, which will have consequences. So, as far as polyamory or polygamy goes, that looks like a no. The good news is that there will be rival relationships though, so fail to pursue the person of your dreams and someone else might sweep them off their feet instead. And just to be clear, not every NPC will require you to be friends with them first before you can start dating them. Let's just say some are a bit easier to date than others, and you can start dating them pretty much immediately without having to do much upfront work at all. Straying from the romance subject a bit, all NPCs will have seasonal outfits as well as daily, weekly, monthly, and annual activities and or schedules that they will partake in and follow. For example, let's say Gabe here goes to work every day of the week, stops by the cafe and then the grocery store every Sunday morning, takes his daughter Lucy out to have a picnic in the park once a month, and has his annual checkup at the doctor once a year. Think something like that, but way more complicated and engaging. They'll also have their own social circles, being friends with some, disliking others, and not particularly caring one way or another about the rest. Everything you've learned about NPC interactions from games like Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon, My Time at Portia, forget it. There's a reason that the Persona series, a JRPG social simulator, is such heavy inspiration for this game. It's going to be deep. They just recently sent over a demo of the game to potential publishers, and in just a few months, they'll have another demo that they'll be giving out to content creators, myself included, for us to play and get our feedback on, as well as that of our audiences. I'll be streaming it over on my Twitch channel if you'd like to check it out, links in the description, and I'll definitely be making a video or two for here on YouTube as well, so regardless of where I see you next, I hope you'll be back for more. Thank you very much for watching, and for those that made it through to the end, whether you skipped your way here or not, I appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next video. My name's DoctorDDub, and until then, as always, take care.